Hey everybody, welcome back to Trinity Dairy. Don't forget to like and share the video, subscribe to the channel, and check out our merch store. We'll have a link down below in the description for that. Today is January 18th, 2023. It's pretty nice out today. It's cloudy, but it's like 31 degrees, so it's melting a little bit. So not a bad day for January. We're gonna do it today. We're gonna kind of show some of our feeding the cows. They're in the barn now. I'm going to let them out for a while. It's plenty warm today for them to go out. And they got their feed in the barn finished. So we'll let them out. And then right now I'm going to put some hay out in the pasture for them, so they got something to eat while they're out there. And then I'll get the mangers cleaned out, and I'll show you kind of how we mix the silage and stuff and feed them inside. Pasture now. I'll show you this hay. I keep a couple bales out here for the cows when they come out. It's nothing real fancy, but it was some first crop, but it was, I mean, it was nice. It was cut decent. It's just a grass alfalfa mix, but it's nice and green. Cows like it. The deer eat the heck out of it because they sneak into by the shed there and pick at them like crazy. So I keep these out here, something for them to eat while they're out here. But then what we do, I'll show you what we do in the barn later. That's a little bit more of a mixed feed they get in there. So we'll get the twines off of this, put the feeder on it, and then I'll let the cows out. Okay, we're in front of the barn here now. I'm going to mix up my feed mix for the cows when they're in the barn overnight. And this here is kind of the main unit here. This is my poor man's TMR mixer. Basically all this is, it's a Badger forage box that's been cut down. And then I rigged this up on here. My brother Matthew, he did the welding for me, and we put this electric motor on here with a gear reduction on it. So it's just plug it in with a extension cord, and I fill the wheelbarrows out of this, and that works really good. I don't mix any grain in here. This is just corn silage, and then I chop up some dry hay and a little bit of baleage and mix in there with it. I don't like to mix the grain in because when I feed the grain on top of this, I can regulate how much each cow gets depending on what they milk. So and we can show a little bit. I got the back of the wagon out here. I already dumped one scoop of corn silage in. Now I'll chop my hay, put on top of that, and then I'll put another scoop of corn silage on top, kind of sandwich that hay in there. It mixes up a little bit better. So I'll chop up some hay now and show you how that works. What we got for hay, I've got some baleage here, big squares that we bought actually last year. It's some fourth crop alfalfa grass mix. This stuff turned out some really nice hay. It's not super wet. It's on the drier side for baleage, but which is okay because they get too heavy. If they're too wet, I can't move them. And also I just got a small square bale bedding chopper that I use for chopping the hay. If it gets too wet, it really works that thing hard. So I usually do 2 slices of that baleage, and then I've got a small square bale of our own hay. This is some stemmy or clover, actually. Some grass in it. And then I chop that in, mix in with it. And that's been working real good. It's a little bit, you get some extra work involved when you're chopping the hay and doing the mixing, but it seems like in the end it pays off. Instead of just feeding the long hay on top of the silage in the barn, the cows tended to sort it out more and just made more of a mess out of it. This way I take a lot less waste out of the barn. And I think the cows do a little bit better on it when it is mixed together. So we'll fire up here and chop up this hay and get that in, and then run over to the bags and get another bucket of silage, and I can kind of show you that area. This here, I don't normally chop the hay in front of the barn because it kind of makes a mess. It's dusty. Normally I chop it over at the bags, but there's so much snow this year. I got so much piled over there. I don't really have the room, so I wound up having to do it here this year. But so that's why it kind of looks a little bit messier in front of the barn here. But anyway, we'll get chopping and get that done. There we go, got them chopped up. You can tell how that balage, it works this thing a little bit. I gotta kind of feather it in. This has got a little bit left in there, but so you got a spinning drum here with knives on it, and then these shiny bars, you can adjust the height of them to how much cut it takes. And I've got to hold that, there's a lever out here, that's what I was holding up to keep it from being so aggressive. Feeds through there a little bit, or otherwise it'll jam up. But it mixes up pretty good. Some of this top stuff's a little bit longer, but it mixes in with the silage a lot better, and the cows eat it way better. So we'll dump some of this in, and then I'll go get some silage for that. Alright, so we're over here at the silage bags now. I'll talk a little bit about this. Before I do that though, I did want to give a big thank you to Jim from Working Horses with Jim. He's got a YouTube channel, does farming and logging all with horses pretty much. So if you haven't found his channel, go over there and check that out because he's got some really good content. But he gave us a shout out a few videos ago, and we've gotten quite a few people have come over from his channel, so we really appreciate that as well. But I figured I'd explain a little bit of some of this stuff. For those of you who have been following the channel for a long time, you already know what it is, but for the new viewers out there, you might be interested to know. But these are silage bags. So we got corn silage here. This is just the whole corn plant chopped up. And we've got a machine that stuffs it in these plastic bags, basically. There's one here. Well, it's got a bunch of snow on it now. There's about 2 feet of snow on top of them, but they're about 8 foot diameter, and these are, I think, 150 feet long, and they're just full of that corn silage. And this is what it looks like here. It's fermented. You know, it's chopped at with pretty good moisture content in it. I think this stuff was, I haven't looked at the test, but it was probably around 50%, I would say. And yeah, it just makes really good feed for the cows. And that's what we store it in. We also have some upright silos we store it in as well, but so anyway, I just take it out of here, and then I'll dump this. This is the second scoop. I'll go dump in that wagon, and then we can show you how we feed it. All right, so there's the finished pile in the wagon. Like I said, corn silage, hay, corn silage. That's pretty basic. And then the two older boys, they're in cleaning out the mangers right now. We sweep out the old silage, whatever they have left, and we just haul it out for the dry cows and heifers. That's what they know it's coming, so They're all at the gate waiting for it. But they pick through it, and then the turkeys come up from the woods and pick through it, so everybody gets a little bit out of it. But anyway, I'm gonna, once I get that done, we'll put feed out. I'm gonna probably try to put this out before the cows come back in. Normally the cows are already in when I do it, but the feed truck is coming tonight to bring grain for our feed tank here, so I want to get out of his way before he gets here. So we'll see what they got done, or I'll see what they got done, and then go from there. Got it all done?
Yeah.
So this is some of the stuff they swept up out of the mangers. It pretty much looks the same. A little bit of hay, corn, a little bit of grain mixed in there. So they'll just wheel that out, and nothing really goes to waste then, so that's good.
I have a special name for that hay from where
What's that?
Ray hay.
Ray hay?
Yep.
Yeah, that's where our baleage came from. It's named Ray, so call it Ray hay.
Ray hay.
All right, carry on, man.
Ray hay.
So while we're still in the barn here, I was going to kind of show one thing. This might be some of the farmers out there, if they still have a stall barn like this and use the water cups. This is what the cows drink out of when they're in the barn. And most of my cups in here are cleansing brand, and they had either a plastic or a brass valve. They had two different style valves, but most of mine are brass valves. But from what I've been able to find, you can't get those valves anymore. So what I've started doing with these cups, actually this cup had a plastic valve, but the pin for the paddle seized up and broke off. So I started, you can buy these valves now. They're just a push valve. They're for the newer style cups. And then I just put a 1/2 inch street elbow in there, and they work good. And actually it's nice. They seems like the cups stay a little bit cleaner, because I can show you here on some of these other cups that still have the valve, like they came with, what they look like. So this is what that cup would normally look like. It's just got a paddle here. Jordan, you're blocking the light. So they got a paddle here, and then the cow pushes on the paddle and the water comes out. But the valve that's under there, from what I've heard, this company went out of business or whatever, so they don't make them anymore apparently. So that's what I've started doing now, and it seems like it works pretty well. So just kind of a handy hint out there, I guess, if anybody's got these cups and can't find valves. It's nice having it on that switch, because when I first got this wagon, it just ran off the power takeoff of the tractor. And so in order to shut it off, you either had to go and shut the power takeoff off, or you could use the emergency shut off on here. But with this wagon, that shut off everything except this cross conveyor. So you still had that running, whatever silage would fall into it, would run out on the ground. So this works a lot nicer. I mean, if I wouldn't be able to run a full, like if I had this load full, it wouldn't run it. It's just because it's a pretty small motor, but I've never had any trouble with what I've needed to feed the cows. But I think it's only like a 1/3 horse motor, but the gear reduction, you know, gives it the extra power. But if it was a 1/2 horse or something, I think it would probably run the whole thing. But anyway, so I'm going to get this fed out. And then we'll get the cows in, and I'll probably get some video, kind of show you what kind of a grain mix that they get on top of this. And
all right, just gotta get started milking. Cows are in, so just gotta get the filter into the bulk tank and get the milkers ready to go and carried out, and then turn the vacuum pump on. Got it. And just turn the switch and we start milking. Okay, so this is your vacuum pulsator. Goes into that. This is where your milk goes through. That goes into the stainless steel line.
well, as you can see, the cows are in now, chowing down on their silage. They don't come in extremely hungry because they had the hay outside, but now we're going to give them their grain. So I got an auger here that comes in out of that bin outside, the wheelbarrow, so we'll run some grain in. Once this fills up, then I just pull the wheelbarrow around and grain them. And then, like I was saying earlier, every cow, depending on how much they milk, gets a different amount of grain. So that's kind of how I regulate that. But so that's the graining process and kind of how they get fed. And it changes in the summertime when they're out on pasture. They got grass. It changes around how we feed, and so it all kind of depends on what we have. But and this grain here, this is a mix that we buy. There's corn, some soybean, there's some beet pulp in it, salt, mineral. There's some there's a hydrolac pellet in here, it's called. That's just to help, kind of like a Gatorade for cows. It helps keep them hydrated.
Spring's gotta be coming, right? They're shedding out. Hey, Delta. Delta is our Delta is our tallest cow in the barn. We bought her as a springing heifer, which means that she was heavily pregnant when we bought her. Unfortunately though, the people that previously owned her, she must have gotten sucked on as a calf because she's only milking on 3 of her 4 quarters. But even on just 3, she's a top producer. Once the brush comes out, then they all start looking for their turn. Right, Therese? Therese here and Austin here. These are both first calf heifers. And actually, Therese's mom is right there. Does that feel good? Does that feel good? Yes. Hey, Austin. Now Lily here, she's one of our 2 registered Guernseys, and I just got their preg test back, and they're both pregnant, and I bred them with sex semen, so hopefully we'll get 2 Guernsey heifer calves, one in June and one in September. And she gets an iodine post-dip on her teeth. Helps keep them disinfected. And there's also an emollient in there to keep it nice and moisturized. For pre-dip, we use it in a spray bottle. You just squirt it up. Since we switched to the bottle instead of a dipper for the pre-dip, our somatic cell went way down, so we're under 100,000 regularly. So if this was the difference, it was well worth it. And we wipe them with a towel. Then we strip each quarter, kind of a quality control, make sure the milk looks good, no signs of mastitis or anything. Millie here behind me, she freshened about a week ago. She's another cow that we purchased here, a few years ago now already. She's not the most personable cow in the group, but she milks really good. She's a little bit on the ornery side, and I think out of spite, even though she was bred sex semen, we still got a bull calf from her. He's still cute though. Yeah, you're cute and you're hungry. Your bottle's coming.
So these are the milking units that we use. We have a pipeline system. So there's a stainless pipe that runs around the whole barn. And then it's got taps in it where you can hook this up to. So you have this line here. This is what the milk goes through. It hooks up to the line. And this is your pulsator. These are vacuum controlled. There's electronic ones and a few different styles. But what this does, this has vacuum in it also. And it hooks up. And I don't know if you can hear it or not, but it clicks back and forth. And what that does, so that pulsator hooks in, has these lines, and hooks into these smaller ones. And inside this stainless shell, there's this rubber inflation. So every time that clicks, it allows that rubber inflation inside that to squeeze it open and close. And then the milk line, there's vacuum in there too. And what that does, a lot of people think it sucks the milk out of the cow. Well, it really doesn't. Cow lets their milk down into the milker, and then the suction basically pulls it up into the line and then into the milk house where it's pumped. There really is not much vacuum on this, because if you have too much vacuum, it's actually hard on the cow's teat ends. It'll actually flour them out, and that's not good. So you have to run it at a very low vacuum. I can put my finger in there. It's not huge suction, but.
I'm not putting my finger.
And then just got an on and off button so you can turn the vacuum on and off, and it's kind of made too. And you've got this on the cow. If they kick it off or it falls off, it's made so that'll pop off so it doesn't suck up anything off the floor. That's about how they work.
Are you stuck?
No.
Hey, Dawn.
Hi.
What is this one's name?
Peter Kafkas.
What?
Peter Kafkas.
Where did you get that name?
Off the Weather Channel.
From the weatherman, right? And the feed truck's here. piece of straw, but that's pretty much